Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I know, good to see you too. Wait, what's today? Is it Thursday? Oh man, I think I put Friday on the title of the video. Where can I change that, or is it too late? All right, well, we got to jump right into the news because I had a whole boat planned, and then in just like the last 2 hours, a bunch of stuff has been added to my plate here. So we're going to start off with the great Raven Harrison. Now, Raven, I'm about to disappoint you here because I was trying to come up with some sort of clever intro for you. And so I went and grabbed some Raven sounds because, you got a cool name, Raven, right? That's like one of those sleek, sexy birds. But it's not that cool. Listen, it sounds kind of like crows. So that I can't do anything cool with this, Raven. Anyway, other than that,
that's completely uncool.
Welcome to the show. Otherwise. All right, so top story here. We talk a lot about national politics, but you're local. What do you think about the Dallas police chief, or the interim Dallas police chief Michael Igoe, saying that he's not going to comply with ICE and illegal immigrants?
He is out of his mind, and the days of liberals and people on the extreme left thinking that they can cherry pick which laws they want to uphold or follow are coming to a close. Like Tom Homan said, then, he can be deported with them then, or he can enjoy Gitmo, because these people need to start going to jail. A law enforcement officer who is sworn to uphold the laws of the United States does not have the option to say, I'm going to set these aside. I'm going to not honor these. And his logic of saying, I want people to feel safe. I mean, they just speak an oxymoron. So you want people to feel safe when you're shielding people who are in our country illegally and have broken the law by being here or overstaying their visa, and you want the community of taxpayers who pay you to feel safe when you're not prosecuting criminals. We don't want criminals to be afraid of us. Yes, we do. We absolutely do.
Well, I think this puts an interesting scenario at the feet of our new border czar, Tom Homan, who said that he will arrest people who stand in the way. I have the clip here. Right after it was announced he was going to be the border czar, before he was confirmed. I guess there's not a confirmation process. This goes back to November 25th, 2024.
I want you to be clear about who has jurisdiction, the federal government or state and local governments. And if you're a sanctuary state or city, are you breaking the law?
You're absolutely breaking the law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S., you'll see these breaking the law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail.
Uh-oh. Raven?
That's the mic drop, and that's where it is. And my suggestion to Tom Homan would be, we also are going to need to see the perp walk on pay-per-view, because a lot of us need to start seeing these people go to jail. And as soon as people start going to jail for this, then it will stop happening. But again, he needs to choose a different line of work. But maybe license plate making, but he is not going to be tasked to uphold the law and then decide that there's just these I don't want to uphold. And that just goes to show you that the number of illegals who are in our state, our cities, and our country are way more than was previously thought, because we shouldn't have empty farmers markets. We shouldn't have empty stores. We shouldn't have people struggling to find employees. That just tells you what a mess we've created, and we've become dependent on a system that's broken.
Well, Raven, I don't know if you actually saw the video. I'm not allowed to play it because we don't have the rights to the audio or whatever. But I did type out a transcript. The clip that from yesterday. He's at a Spanish-speaking church here in southeast Dallas. He said, the Dallas Police Department is not assisting any federal agency on detaining people that are either documented or undocumented in the city of Dallas. Do you know anyone that knows Tom Homan? Do you know Tom Homan? Can we get this guy on the phone? Because if this is going to be the first standoff, if there is going to be a standoff, I'd like to see it start right here. Let's go.
So to answer your question, yes, I know Tom Homan. I have a cell phone number. I can't use it for this.
Oh, yeah, you can. Or just float him a text. Just float him a text.
I'm telling you, what I would say is we don't need his help. Tom said, get out of the way. And again, so we're not looking for their assistance. That time has passed. So you can decide to comply and do your job, or you can go to jail. It's really just that simple. And that's what the community should be outraged. They should be calling for his resignation on a silver platter. hopefully one that didn't cost $90,000 out of U.S. aid. But we need to be calling for these people to be held accountable. And my suggestion is always pay-per-view, James, always.
Love that. All right. So the big news we're starting off with today with Raven Harrison here. The Dallas police chief, interim police chief Igo, said he will not join ICE deportation raids or even hold people. It sounds like he's operating in violation of the law. I can't wait to see what happens next, Raven.
It's going to be interesting, but we the people have to be vigilant and diligent and still not letting these people, since when do criminals get to decide if they want to be locked up? It doesn't work that way. So he needs either a cell facing whatever direction he'd like in Gitmo, or he needs to do his job, and the people need to demand that he does it.
Well, Raven, right now, at the same time, we have other members of Team Blue telling the media that it's not fair if Donald Trump or whoever else in the executive branch picks and chooses what laws they want to adhere to or not adhere to, or what spending they do or do not want to actually actually follow through with after it's been appropriated. Oh, really? You can't pick and choose the laws anymore? That's so interesting. You know, it's fun to see them go back and forth like that.
Well, it is. I mean, did Omar marry her brother? You know, nobody said anything about that. You know, Rashida Tlaib is being funded by Hamas. Nobody said anything about that either. We've been sitting for 4 years while they protected a dementia patient and gave him access to nukes. So their opinion is mute at this point. But yes, her giving, please let her have a cell next to this guy of AOC actually telling people how to evade ICE. And this is in violation of federal law. These people who are sworn to uphold the Constitution, who obviously haven't read it.
Love it. All right. Where do they find your work outside of the James Show, Raven?
Well, all my new ventures, but you can find me at ravenharrison.com or ravenharrisonforcongress.com.
Weren't you supposed to announce something like in the next week or so?
James, I thought you were on my page. We announced that about a week ago.
What is it? You're running for Congress?
I'm running for Congress.
Well, you hadn't said it on my show yet, so I want you to make it official.
Yes, it's official.
All right. So what are you running for? What is it, like the State House, the big Congress? Which one?
Well, people have to go because there's a twist in there. I told you we had to do our best to help President Trump. We had to jump in, and it required a little maneuvering. So you have to go to the website to find out where I am and what I'm doing.
I guess I will. RavenHarrison.com. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James.
All right. Now, I can't play the audio of the Dallas police chief saying what he said last night. We just don't have the legal permission to. But I did go find a video where he was saying something very similar, and they put it on the Dallas Police Department YouTube page. But what do you think? What should happen to the Dallas police chief when he says he's not going to participate in helping ICE enforce immigration law? He's not going to hold illegal immigrants for ICE. He's not going to give them the notifications like I thought he was required to by law. Would you like to see Homan come down here and arrest him? Should he keep his job? Is he a hero? Should he lose his job? Should he be charged with a crime? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, this got interesting real quick. The interim Dallas police chief, Michael Igoe, said at a community meeting last night that he is not going to comply with ICE, whether you're documented or undocumented. He said the Dallas Police Department is not assisting any federal agency on detaining people that are either documented or undocumented in the city of Dallas. Now, that sets up an interesting situation because Tom Homan, your new border czar, has said in a couple of interviews that he's going to be prosecuting sanctuary cities, people who harbor them too.
What will happen? What will ICE do to the politicians, the advocacy groups, the cities and states that have sanctuary status that are aiding and abetting in the law breaking? What will you do to those people that are openly not just opposing, but helping those people that broke the law and didn't respect our borders and sovereignty?
If they openly impede us, that's a violation of federal law. It's a felony. If they knowingly harbor and conceal an alien, that's a felony. We will seek prosecution through the U.S. Attorney's Office. We got a great U.S. Attorney coming in, Pam Bondi. She's all in. So we're going to seek prosecution, Sean. That's what we have to do because they're releasing public safety threats back in the community. Any sanctuary city, any elected mayor, city councilman, a governor who thinks it's a good idea to release public safety threats back in the community to reoffend, it's just ridiculous. We're going to hold them accountable. The Trump administration will hold them accountable through prosecution.
Oh, no. Well, he said some big words now. Is he going to back them up? Should he back them up? Because there's three ways you can look at this. If you see that the Dallas police chief isn't going to comply with ICE and the deportations and the getting rid of illegal immigrants, some people think he should be cheered. That's what most of the media is doing today. Dallas Morning News and the TV stations and probably the Observer or whatnot. A lot of people think he should be fired. Tom Homan thinks, or according to Tom Homan's own words, that he should be arrested. What do you think? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Should Igoe, the Dallas police chief, be cheered, fired, or arrested? Cindy in Bedford, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Well, I think he should wait till he does it and then removed from office and put in jail. Come on, who does he think he is? He doesn't get to pick and choose which laws he enforces. If 14 people run a red light, you're going to let them all go because you think they might be illegal aliens and you feel sorry for them? Give me a break.
Okay, what do you think about his excuse for it? His concern, at least he says out loud, is for public safety in general, and he doesn't want them to be scared to call the cops if they've been a victim of a crime. He doesn't want them to be scared to reach out and be a witness if they saw someone else do a crime. So, do you think there's a public safety aspect to this?
Well, there may be, but here's the thing: it will be a worse public safety problem if nothing is done. And I'd invite him to trot down to, Mexico City or Venezuela or someplace and be an illegal alien and see how much protection their police give him.
All right. Well, Cindy, you got your voice heard here on the James Show. I appreciate you calling in.
Thanks.
I think a lot of people feel like that. Judging by the comments that I get, especially when I'm reading comments on other people's posts that are in realms that have a tinge of anonymity. So not so much like a Facebook or an Instagram, but more like in the Reddit realms of the world. People are not real happy with that. And I think there's a lot of people who'd be excited to see what happens because you've kind of felt your entire life that if you sit there and you harbor a felon, you're breaking a federal law. I've felt sanctuary city guys, people who pull this off, they should have handcuffs on them years ago. I don't understand why this was ever tolerated in past administrations. I really don't understand why it was tolerated in Trump 1.0. John in Hearst, you're next up on WBAP. What do you think about the DPD not complying with ICE?
No, they need to do their job. They need to do it. I'd hate to be on the wrong side of Mr. Holman. Speaking of Mr. Holman, I was heard earlier today that he found the leak for the ICE raids. I think that was in Colorado. It was an FBI employee. They're supposed to be fired, lose their pension. and they're going to prosecute him. I'm asking you, what do you think is going to happen to him? They're going to make an example out of I don't know if it's a male or a female, and make an example out of him and throw the whole book at him, or I mean, if you found out who was leaking the information, what would you do, dude?
I would throw the book at him. I would throw the book at him. Well, here's what I want to happen. I want the book to be thrown at that guy. I want the book to be thrown at the interim Dallas police chief. I want the book to be thrown at someone was bringing up over here on Facebook. Who was that? That was Scott. He said, check out Sheriff Larry Smith, Smith County, on topic with your first segment. Right. Even in I know this is so embarrassing, but even out in Bug Tussle, the sheriff of Smith County said that he's not going to be reporting all the undocumented illegals that he get in custody either. And he said the same thing. This is about public safety, and we want them to be able to feel safe reporting crimes or being witnesses to crime or helping us solve other crimes. Yeah, so this isn't even really a big Dallas thing. You would think, this is Texas, this is hyper red. So Dallas isn't complying. They're not complying in Bug Tussle. My only hesitation on this is Trump was already in office for 4 years, and he didn't come put bracelets on any of these guys. Handcuffs. I'm just being metaphorical here. So
Right.
I hope they do, but I'm not sure if they will. I'm not sure if this isn't just a bunch of talk.
I'm unsure, but I'd hate to be on the other side of Tom Holman. I'd hate to have to be in his crosshairs.
Well, he hadn't
But
done
he
nothing
looks
yet.
like a bad man.
I hope you're right.
But
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good
He
stuff.
sure talks it. Thank you, sir.
That's
Enjoy
John,
your evening.
John and Hurst. And thank you for all the guys commenting over here on Facebook. Scott, you're right. I hadn't brought that up, but Larry Smith, and that's where I'm from. That's where Bug Tussle is, Smith County. Yeah, he's not complying either. So this isn't like in so many of these shows, country people make fun of city people or city people make fun of country people. No, we both have this problem now. And I guarantee you, it's how many guys are going to have handcuffs put on them before the rest of them fall in line? Not too many. Not too many. Bob also says one more here before I go to break from Facebook. Bob says he's interim and is bootlicking newly appointed DEI city manager Kim Tolbert so he can be named permanent chief. I'm not sure if you're right, but that is one ugly spectacle of any of these political positions. Like, you think he's just a regular police officer. No, once you get that high up in the brass, you're subject to the whims of politicians and thus are kind of politician adjacent yourself. Your thoughts on the DPD saying they're not going to report illegals to ICE? 800-288-9227. Should he be cheered, fired, or arrested? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Woo! Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We've got a hot one. Because the interim Dallas police chief, Michael Igo, was at a public event at a church, Familia Bethel Internacional. It's over in Southeast Dallas. And he said that he's not going to be complying with the ICE deportations. And I can't play the audio, but let me go ahead and just read it because I took the time to type it out. The important part, he says, Igo said, the Dallas Police Department is not assisting any federal agency on detaining people that are either documented or undocumented in the city of Dallas. Tom Homan said anyone who doesn't comply, that's illegal. They're going to get arrested for standing in the way of law enforcement. And so I think we have ourselves, finally, the first real Mexican standoff in the Sanctuary City battle. This has bothered me. It's just been a burr under your saddle, knowing that there's been people who selectively enforce the laws when their entire job is law enforcement. You're a policeman. You're a police chief. Law enforcement is supposed to be your bag. You're not supposed to be like, that law is all right. I don't care about that. When this one, I'll enforce that. If you miss a parking ticket, they'll drag you through the mud. They'll raise your insurance rates. They'll make you pay a giant fine. They may even stop you from renewing your license. They make you go to court. You got to fill out paperwork. But these other guys, no. We don't want them to be scared of talking to policemen. Real quick before I get to the phones, if you want to jump in, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Let me read you some feedback from Facebook. Jody says, hey, James. Well, hey, Jody. He says, you should get the head of the Dallas Police Union on the air and see if they agree with the chief. That's a great idea. Garrett, can you make that happen? Either the police union or if there's like a fraternal order of police head that we could talk to. But that would be interesting. Jason says on Facebook, don't police chiefs take an oath to uphold the law? Yeah, it's kind of a deal, isn't it? Isn't he breaking that oath by harboring people who broke the law as soon as they crossed the border? Yes. Also, I wonder how the officers on the street feel about this. All great points. Yeah, I should have brought that up in the last segment. I wonder how the officers on the street feel about this. Because on one hand, I could see why they would feel like we do. It's like, hey, are we going to enforce this law or not? And on the other hand, it's just more work for them, isn't it? David said on Facebook, he was in a public place. He is a public servant paid by taxpayers, so I don't see why you can't play the video. Because the video was in a closed building, and since only one person was there with a camera and audio source recording it, and they happened to be a business rival, their head corporation and our parent corporation are rivals, and so we have specific limitations on what we could do. So sorry about that, David. Now I can send you a link to it if you want to email me, james@wbap.com. But trust me, he said it. Gary said the Dallas interim police chief needs to be fired for not helping ICE. Thank you, Gary. He said Dallas is going to turn into a haven for illegal alien gangs. Trump needs to cut off all federal funding to Dallas. What do you say? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Jim and Wiley, you're on WBAP. What do you think about the Dallas police chief not complying with ICE?
Yeah, I agree with what your listeners are saying. I mean, he is the leader of the department. He holds his officers accountable with policies and procedures and code of conduct, but he's not going to adhere to federal law. It's kind of hypocritical. How does that? What kind of leader does that show him to be?
Well, look, I'm seeing a lot of people say that we should cut off his funding, or he should be fired. No, he should be arrested and charged with a crime. The same way if I robbed a bank and then I went and hid your apartment, or I don't know, you probably have a big mansion, Jim and Wiley, and the cops came looking for him and you lied. And you're like, nope, he's not in here. And then they found me later. That's how the Dallas police chief should be treated, just like you would be treated if you harbored a felon in your house and obstructed law enforcement. I don't think cutting off funding or firing him's enough, but I just don't want to be like the only psycho with the fringe opinion there. And I'm really looking for, and thank you very much for your call, Jim. Does anybody agree with the police chief? We'll put you to the front of the line. Well, when we have an open line. Well, there, look, Jim just hung up, so there's an open line. 800-288-9227. I want to hear from someone who agrees with the police chief on this one. Evan McKinney, you're on the James Show. What do you think?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. And then I echo everything that's been said. And I also think that he should be arrested. And I also agree with one of the Facebook posts that federal funding should be cut just to show that the administration is not screwing around with this. I mean, they can get someone else in there if he gets fired, goes to jail, gets out after, I don't know, a week or two. You know, he's going to cop a plea and nothing much will come of it. And they'll just keep people will just keep coming in, ready to get arrested, ready to go to jail, get a slap on the wrist. And I think that if you cut the federal funding in addition to that, you know, the residents at some point are just going to have enough. When you take away people's money, that's when you start getting a real change, I think.
Look, I'm not saying you're wrong. That would be very effective. But doesn't part of aren't you bothered by the fact that the city of Dallas does receive federal funding and therefore D.C. can have some sort of effect on how we, set up and govern ourselves here in the city of Dallas? Like, I really don't understand why there is federal funding from D.C. to all these towns and cities and whatnot. You know, if you're going to take money from us, run it through D.C. just to give it back to us. Why does it need to go to D.C.? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying something rubs me wrong about using this mechanism to get the result we want, because I don't really like that mechanism.
Well, and I think there probably needs to be a combination of things to happen. And I don't get the whole federal funding thing either, especially for all these sanctuary cities. Well, look at the past administrations. But I think there has to be several things going on, not just one thing, not just a firing, not just going to jail, or not just cutting federal funding. But there needs to be several things going on to get the message across these people so that they'll stop this nonsense.
Evan, real quick, I got like 30 seconds. Maybe Igo's listening right now. I mean, that would make sense. He knows he's on the hot seat. He knows he's getting media attention right now. He knows we're the biggest flame-throwing news talk station in the entire state of Texas. What would you tell him right now?
I would tell him to get ready. Get ready for Homan to come, because if you have your heels dug in, that's fine. You've made your choice. All choices have consequences, and get ready to go to jail for a while, at the very least.
I would say change your mind, and if you don't change your mind, I hope you get arrested. 800-288-9227. We got ourselves an old-fashioned Mexican standoff right here in the city of Dallas. Your thoughts on the Dallas police chief saying he's not going to comply with ICE? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. If you get a chance, can you float Tom Homan a text for me? Just let him know what's going on down here. I want to see what he says. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. A lot of people are hot about the Dallas police chief saying that he's not going to comply with ICE, and so someone get Homan on the phone. In the meantime, we have other things going on. I'll get back to that. I have a lot of great calls. I can see just like one little line description of what each one of these calls is. Don't y'all hang up, because I want to talk to you after we get caught up with Spencer McGowan, because something that's, I don't know, kind of over my head here is happening, but it sounds like it could be really good. Spencer McGowan, welcome back to the James Show. Tell me about Texas getting a stock exchange. Wait. You say the first one. There's more than one stock exchange coming to Texas? Okay. Okay, so Spencer McGowan, what does it matter where the stock exchange is at? Like, they still don't have people on the floor taking paper orders. It's all electronic. So what does that matter? No, I understand why we would like it. I guess I asked the question wrong. Why would they? Are they trying to come here for the taxes, or because the new ESG regulations in New York are kind of weighing on their stock exchange? I know we're pulling one from Chicago here. So what makes Dallas better than Chicago or New York? All of this sounds like a net positive for both us and the stock exchanges. Is this really that good of news? That sounds fantastic. Spencer McGowan, I appreciate it. You can find him at networthradio.com. And if you need some financial advice, the McGowan Group. Thank you, sir. Well, that's all. That all sounded really good. And I was cautious about that because it all does sound like too good to be true. Like, what's the catch? We're stealing a stock exchange from New York and from Chicago. Why? Why are y'all so nice to us? Just because we're cool? Just because Texas is awesome? I think so. I know. Let me get a little full of ourselves for a second. Jane in Dallas, you're on WBAP. What's on your mind?
Hi there. Yeah, I was just calling about, of course, what Chief Igo stated. And, here's what I want to say.
Hang on real quick. New people, Chief Igo, the interim police chief, said he's not going to comply with ICE deportations. All right, go.
Yeah, he said it in a different way, but yes. Okay, so what I'm going to say is he really doing this rogue? I mean, why don't we find out? Because the police do what they're basically told to do, and you couldn't arrest anybody if they stole something that was 750 under 750. You can arrest them. Well, they had to do what they were told. I'm really curious because in Dallas, it isn't the mayor; it's the city manager that controls the city council, and the city council controls the police. So if I were you, if I could, I'd get the city manager to get on your show or the city council member.
I'm pretty sure they agree with him that because this was the same status of the previous police chief and has kind of been the going statecraft of Dallas since I've lived here in the late 90s, really.
Well, exactly. If you think about the other side, I mean, I'm a police supporter, big time. I know that whether he says that or not, their lives are on the line every day. Traffic stop, you never know. If you haven't noticed, but on X, there's several officers all over the country.
Jane, I'm about out of time. Are you married to a police officer? Is that what's going on, or is it your son?
No. I really love the blue, and I see what they do. And I'm just going to say, they when they detain somebody and they're terra lingua, they turn them over to ICE. They don't go, oh, you can go. No, they turn them over. So I just wish everybody would slow down since day one and just see what happens, because all we need is two wars: the police fighting a war with the Mexican people that think they're going to just come take you, and then also police fighting a war with the citizens.
All right, Jane, I love it. I love all your comments. I'm just out of time, okay?
No problem.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Usually when people are that sympathetic, though, it's like they have a brother or a husband or a dad or a son or something. I was just hearing a little bit of an emotional connection there with Jane. Alabama Shakes coming to Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory September 27th. It's one of the contests. You can win tickets from us. Text the word Shakes. I like them. Text the word Shakes to 800-288-9227. Shakes to 800-288-9227. Coming up next, did you know there was a terror attack in Germany today? Details next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. My next guest is going to help us. I don't know if he'll make us feel any better, but you'll have a better idea what's going on with the Mavericks. They had the blockbuster trade. We gave away a generational player, Luka Doncic, for the Lakers, for Anthony Davis, who's not trash. He's a great player. I mean, I remember him pretty much single-handedly taking Kentucky to a NCAA championship back in college, but man, that was like 13 years ago or something. And then he hurt himself in the first game as a Maverick. Donovan, how bad is it?
It's pretty bad once you kind of take all those circumstances. I think the front office's thought was, you know what, if good basketball is happening at the arena, then people will slowly and surely forget about giving up a 25-year-old generational star. And that lasted for about an hour and 15 minutes. And now that's all people think about now because you don't have Anthony Davis and the injuries are piling up. And although they're still competing, it's just nothing about giving away someone in his prime with the arrow squarely pointing up and just not feeling like you got the return you should have when you have a guy like that on the trading block.
Well, look, even for a layman fan like me, if you were in the finals last year, why would you be so anxious and going in another direction? And so I know we still don't have a good, solid answer to that. And then what we did get for him is sidelined. So Anthony Davis in street clothes till further notice.
They don't know if it's going to require surgery. I think the word now that I was hearing was that it's not going to require surgery because that would be season ending.
What did he hurt?
He hurt his abductor.
Okay.
He had an abductor strain, and it just looked like he got racked, and he went down. That's what the first thing I thought happened when I saw it. And then when you saw it was non-contact, he was like, oh, that's not good. But I can definitely see the mindset of Anthony Davis wanting to come in and kind of quiet all the noise and maybe coming back too soon because when they traded for him, he was hurt. He was out. He hadn't played. And I do believe he rushed back to try and make things right with everything around and then just hurt himself worse. I will bet you, man, and I hate to say this, that if you would have waited about a week or two, maybe you could have avoided this. Maybe him making his debut after the All-Star break, I think everything may have been okay given this original injury a little more time to heal. But I can understand his anxiousness to get out there because, man, I don't think anyone expected the reaction that you've gotten from the fan base.
Well, let's talk about basketball in general.
Sure.
I keep seeing stories about how ratings are down and the game has changed a lot. And I did take some time off the game and I watched a couple of this season and it almost seems like it's turned into a 3-point competition. I mean, is this just analytics ruining the game like they did baseball?
That's exactly what it is. They're saying, hey, you know what? If you're going to take a shot, then 3 points are better than 2. So might as well try to get that. Either it's a sure shot in the lane, or you're at the basket for a layup or a dunk, or you're shooting a 3-pointer. And I think little slowly but surely people are starting to accept maybe more mid-range shots, and the game may be changing a little bit back to what it once was. But man, people have such skill at shooting those shots. And Steph Curry kind of had a movement of, man, we can make these shots very popular. He's one of the most popular players in the league. So I think it's going to take a little bit to get back to it, or people are just going to get used and accept that that's just how the game is being played now and there's no changing. So I don't know which way it's going to go, but I can understand fans of basketball past looking at this game and saying how different it looks and it is from when they enjoyed it, because it is a completely different game.
Well, I saw a chart getting passed around social media. It looks like peak basketball was around 2011, 2012, and it hasn't gone back to that level.
Yeah, you know what? And it's funny because that coincides with the Mavericks winning their only title and just seeing the game that they played. And I can see how that is a very accurate statement. And now when Steph Curry comes into the league and he becomes popular, and man, I think we don't understand the what he meant to this game, what he means to this game, and people trying to imitate his game and what he does, and it just twisted this whole thing around. So
how do they fix it? Do they move back the 3-point line even more? Or do they get rid of it? What do they do?
I don't think they think it's broken. And I get that they understand that the ratings are down or whatnot, but I don't know if they think that's just a blip and they'll come back around once you maybe market a couple of different players differently and get a little more exposure to the game. But I just don't see how they think it's broken. Now, one of the simple reasons that people will say is just move the three-point line back. But I don't think that's going to stop anyone from shooting those shots and shooting those three-point shots. It's just going to make them shoot it a little bit longer. So the problem is I don't think the NBA feels that it's broken because they're probably taking in more money than they have ever before. The salary cap in the league is going up, so the revenue is going up. The TV dollars are there. So what do they have to worry about? I think they feel fine.
Donovan Lewis, do you personally have an opinion either way?
Man, I love the game so much, and I can understand sometimes how the mindset is. Well, it was way better in my day. Like people my age always tend to say things like that. It was better in my day.
Like they're talking about music. Like music today sucks.
Right,
not like
right.
when I was a teenager, right?
Exactly right. And, so I don't want to just up and say that because I think that's the cliche thing to say. I love the game, but I think I always will. But you can tell the difference, and I think you just have to adapt to it. And once you do that and realize that it's really not going back to what it was, then I think you can sit back and enjoy it.
All right, good stuff. I appreciate your expertise, Donovan Lewis. You can catch him on The Invasion on our sister station, The Ticket, in their new time slot. You're on, what, 9 to noon now? Is that what it is?
9 to 1.
9 to 1. That's right. That's right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got the extra hour. So extra content if you want to tune in to The Invasion.
All right, appreciate it. Donovan Lewis, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. We got that out of the way. That's going to be our only sports segment for today. A whole lot of news. If you still have any comments on the Dallas Police Chief saying he's not going to be participating in the Great Ice Roundup 2025, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. But coming up next, did you know that there was a terror attack in Germany today? You think this would be bigger news. It'll make sense when I tell you the details coming up in about 4 minutes. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, sports fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. Now, look, if you're already watching basketball, then why don't you take that knowledge that you have in your head, that expertise that you've developed from investing time in watching basketball, turn it into some money. How do you do that? The Prize Picks app. And look, you can play with my money until you figure it out, until you get a nice beat on things. But, as we're walking into the All-Star break, all you got to do is look at someone's box. And it'll say, sometimes they do the combo line. It'll say 42. And you're like, 42 points? That's a lot. No. Will this player get 42 points plus rebounds plus assists? Oh, okay. All you do is pick more or less 2 to 6 players. And the more picks you make, the bigger the winnings get, all the way up to 1,000 times your cash. So whatever your sport is, whether it's college basketball, pro basketball, they've got hockey going on. Check it out. It's probably on the Prize Picks app. Download it. Use promo code WBAP. Play with the $50 in promo cash you get from that code, WBAP. With your first $5, $50 in promo cash to play with. Prize Picks. Run your game. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, the top story of the day, Dallas Police Chief, Interim Police Chief Igo says that he's not going to comply with ICE retainers, and he said this in an event last night. I heard the audio with my own ears, and there was no equivocating about it. He is going to operate this as a sanctuary city. Your thoughts? 800-288-9227. Where this gets interesting is Tom Homan, your new border czar under Trump 2.0, says that people, officials who stand in the way of federal law enforcement are going to get arrested and charged with harboring a felon. Uh-oh. Does that mean our police chief's about to get arrested? And the overwhelming consensus is, I hope so. All right, that makes things kind of interesting. Couple of calls here. Let's start with Dave in Frisco. You're on WBAP. What do you think?
Yes, sir. It's more of a question, really. It's does the governor Abbott, does he not have any authority to step in with DPS or Texas Rangers and relieve that man of command? Or
I don't think so.
General, or?
I don't think so because he's not violating state law. He's violating federal law.
Got you. Okay. I was just curious. I was listening and wondering why.
No, but now when you say that,
in Texas,
did they pass a law or did they just propose a bill a couple of years ago in the last session, or maybe it's for this session? I feel like I heard story of a state law that would require or in some way compel sanctuary cities to comply with federal laws, but I don't know if that has any teeth in it. I don't know if he can arrest them on behalf. I don't even know if that passed. But if you just had to like put a gun to my head and what do you think the scenario is? I think this is out of the hands of Paxton and Abbott.
Gotcha. Thank you. Just I wish we didn't have to leave everything to the feds, but federal government. But thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, they've never taken care of it before, so that would be new if the feds actually enforce their own laws. And this is one of the things that I find confounding about Trump 1.0. Yeah, this makes sense. Why didn't you do this last time? But, I mean, he hasn't even done it this time yet. So, I don't know. A lot of questions swirling around, and I do not have all the answers. Kevin, North Richland Hills, you're on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
Yes, sir. I just pulled that up as far as does ICE supersede the local authority? And the answer was they have to work in cooperation with each other.
Yes.
So this guy in Dallas needs to leave, but that's up to elections and all this other junk.
Well, no, it's not up to elections if he gets charged with a crime. If they come put bracelets on him, if they handcuff him and arrest him and charge him with a crime, then he's out of the picture, and we don't have to wait for the next, voter approval.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know what I pulled up, and I saw ICE and the local police have to work in cooperation with each other.
Yeah, great.
So where that supersedes one another, I'm not sure.
I appreciate the elbow grease and putting in some work for the James Show, sir. You're a great reporter, Kevin.
All right, later.
Thank you. Let me do one more before I do the Germany terror attack. Matt in Arlington, your thoughts on the Dallas police chief?
Hey, thank you, James. I'm wondering where anybody else is in city leadership to rein this guy in.
What? No, they love it. Why would they don't want to? They agree with this.
Well, then I'm disappointed in the Dallas mayor who spoke at the Republican convention, and I'm thinking you've got a case of double-mindedness going on. And with what Mr. Holman said, makes perfect sense. If you want to release or let people run around in the community and make their job harder when they get here to remove these people and send them back home, you're not doing your community any favors. And that is wrong on more levels than I care to count.
Man, all right. You put some thoughts in my head there, Matt. Number one, if there's anyone in the city government that should do something about it, we have the mayor who switched parties from being a Democrat to Republican. Just how Republican are you, Eric? Also, the rest of the city council, they're totally on board with it. And so the problem with that isn't really a problem with the city council. This is what the voters wanted. This is what they go out and actively seek out. They reject people who say the opposite. So one of the downfalls of democracy is you get the kind of government you deserve. And if you're a bad voter or an uninformed voting bloc, or you're wed to terrible statecraft policies, you're going to get the government you deserve good and hard.
Well, a question I don't know the answer to. Maybe I can delve in and do a little work on the James Show behalf. But did Dallas County as a whole, did they vote red in the last election?
I don't think so. I think Tarrant County did, but
I know Tarrant County did, but that's where I live. So
I think it went blue, but I'm not 100% on that. All right, let me squeeze in this other story, and I'll keep taking calls on the Dallas police chief saying he's not going to work with illegal immigration here. But there was a terror attack in Germany today. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you because there's a couple ways to do this. I could play you the news clips and say, did you notice what they didn't say in there? You notice they didn't say Muslim. You notice they didn't say terrorist. But I'm going to go ahead and spoil the fun and give you the ending first. So now when you're listening to the coverage here, you already know what you're listening for. This is from WCNC, their coverage of the German terror attack that happened today.
Meantime, we are following more breaking news at this hour. Take a look. Live pictures right now. This is Munich, Germany, where at least 28 people, including kids, are hurt after a car drove right through a protest by service workers.
A car, not a Muslim terrorist, a car drove into a crowd.
Probably about lunchtime hour there in Munich right now. And at this hour, local officials say this is believed to be an attack. This was not an accident.
An attack? You mean like a terror attack? You can't say terror in there? No one thought he was just narcoleptic and swerved into a crowd, sir.
They think this was intentional. They also add that suspect is a 24-year-old asylum seeker, so somebody who come into the country there, an immigrant. They're also working to get more information
on asylum seeker, not an Afghanistani Muslim terrorist, not a Muslim terrorist, not even an illegal immigrant, not even a legal immigrant, just an asylum seeker, the most sympathetic term possible.
On what exactly happened. At this point, a number of news agencies reporting that suspect is in custody by police. We'll update you as soon as we know more, but it's worth noting that this comes just a couple of months after a car drove through a crowd in December at a Christmas market.
It was another car. There's no connection there. It's not like they were both Muslim terrorists from outside of the... Oh, that's so weird. It's just cars running into people in Germany.
Also in Germany, a different town, but a similar situation. That incident killed 5 people, injuring more than 200. We'll continue to keep our eye on the situation out of Munich. Situation there after a car drove through a protest. Suspect appears to be in custody. Let's just know what else develops.
He knew the entire time that the guy was an Afghani Muslim terrorist and the whole time that this was a terror attack. They knew it because in the original reporting from the AP that this guy was reading from, you can see Afghan asylum seeker in like paragraph 28 or whatever it is. Look at these people. How many people have to get run over before you say, hey, maybe there's something going on with all these asylum seekers? You know, if there were people yelling roll tide while running through crowds multiple times, someone would say, what's going on in Alabama? But no, we're not allowed to do that here. DEI means some people DIE. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We all know that your phone is listening to you at all times, your Alexa is listening to you at all times. If you're out in public in a store, you're probably on a camera somewhere. But there's people who want to try and minimize the invasions into privacy. So, you still care a little bit in data protection here. Cyber criminals are everywhere. And we just got news about a new security flaw in Apple devices that they had to put a patch out for. How bad is it? Mary Hamilton, who's an expert in data protection, joins us on the James Show. Mary, what do we need to know about this new Apple security flaw?
The biggest thing to know is that, number one, it's easily fixed. So I'm going to start with that because before we go into the reality of what was happening, I want people to have a little bit of hope to understand that all they have to do is go to their settings, go into general, and then push the update. This is going to be for iPhones and for iPads. So a lot of people will mistake it. We just need to update the iPhone, but most of us have iPads as well. So update both of those. Now, what makes this different is this is an emergency patch, right? Like this is a 0-day vulnerability that they found. And there was a guy out of Citizen Labs. His name is Bill Marzak, and he found this vulnerability due to being told to look into it because high-profile targets were being attacked by threat actors. So they were going in through the cord. So the cord that you put into your phone to charge or you put it into your laptop so that you can transfer data. That cord, there's an input and output. There's energy, so there's the energy that goes in to charge it. And then there's also a point where it allows data to flow in. That's why you can put it into your device and transfer data. Now, what they were doing, attackers were using this in through the data cord to go into the phone. So your phone would have to be on for a while and be unlocked for a while for them to do this. They were going through there and bypassing the passcode. That code that we put in, the 5-digit code to get in, it's like a multi-factor authentication code to access your phone. That's what they were bypassing. They became essentially what in the tech world we call an admin. That is the man who holds the keys to the kingdom, giving access to every app, financial information, your bank accounts, pictures, access to basically your life in your phone. So that's what you need to know about this. But they did put a patch out to stop that. And what the patch does is it puts that if the phone is left unlocked for more than an hour, it will lock it back and it won't allow that data to transfer because this is a very sophisticated attack. This isn't an everyday thief pickpocket coming by to take an easy, credit card skim. You have to be a high value target for them to go after and do this. But that's why they patched it. So we didn't have to worry about this anymore. It's not going to be something that attackers are going to be able to use freely and easily however they want now.
Is this update going to happen automatically at some point? Or I know you prefer people to go out and actively make it happen.
No, and it's the same thing on your phone that you always get. Every so often you have your updates. It will not automatically do. You do have to press it. All you have to do is go into your settings and press for the update to happen. It's not like your Windows device or your laptop where it will automatically push when you have people like me, a managed service provider, who will actually go in and make that happen. So you do have to do something. You just have to go into your settings and press the button. That's it.
Well, Mary, I can be
magically.
trained. I went in and it says 14 minutes. Oh, now 13 minutes remaining. So that's how long it takes. You just go into settings. Yeah, software update. Actually, you go into settings, general software update, and there it is. All right. Well, anything else we need to know before I get out of here?
I think a good takeaway for everybody is with any of your devices, about once a week, just what's called power cycle it. Turn it off and turn it back on. And that helps to keep things running more smoothly and will help to eliminate degradation of the phone or your services and helps to keep security updated. So,
right. And that is the first step in every tech support algorithm. Have you tried turning it off and back on? And for the
rebooted it.
Right. And look, if you do hack my iPhone, I hope you like redheads. How about that? All right. Thank you very much, Mary Hamilton. I appreciate your expertise on this subject. Where do we find your work outside of WBAP?
We're at maddata.io. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn if they need to find it. But we do manage services and just help protect people, to serve and protect.
Thank you very much. Good stuff. Thank you. It's Mary Hamilton. Appreciate it. All right, coming up next. All right, I still see some callers and some feedback, and I got an email. Some people are not too happy about the Dallas police chief saying he's not going to comply with the illegal immigration laws when it comes to, he's not going to enforce them as hard as he possibly can. But the question is, should he be cheered for this? Should he be fired for this? Or should he be arrested for this? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. Now on FM at 93.3. Well, someone just got themselves some points. David, I don't know where he's from, but when I find out, David's going to get 7 points here. He's just going to get a full touchdown. Because he sent me a link via Facebook Messenger about the bill that Governor Abbott signed in 2017. You know how we were just saying a couple segments ago? It sounded familiar. Isn't there some sort of state law? Like, didn't we just do this a few years ago? Yeah, 2017. So 8 years ago, Governor Abbott signed into law, and it went into effect in September of 2017, a sanctuary city ban. And so it says entities and officials that do not comply with the law could face the following penalties. Oh, by the way, if you're just joining us, the interim Dallas police chief, Igo, said that he's not going to assist ICE and turn over all the illegals that he finds, and you don't have to worry about it. He's not going to be part of the evil deportation schemes. But he is now facing a fine of $25,500 for each day of the violation. A Class A misdemeanor for a sheriff, chief of police, or constable who fails to comply with federal immigration detainer requests. That's like exactly what he was saying. And removal from office for any elected or appointed official who does not comply with the law. Oh my goodness. Get Abbott on the phone. We got one. Do it. Has anyone ever been punished under this law? Did we just pass this law so everyone could feel good, or did we mean it when we pass it? When you sent your elected representatives to go put this into place, did you want it to be enforced, or did you want it to be ignored? Because what good does it do if we just pass laws and they don't enforce them? And then so we pass a law against being here illegally, and Dallas Police Chief says, "Oh, I'm just not going to enforce that," and then we don't do nothing. And so then we pass a law saying, "Well, you can't ignore this law," and then we ignore that law. Is someone going to do something? Is this guy going to get put in handcuffs? Is he going to get a $25,000 fine? He's done this for a couple days now. I think he's up to $50,000 just for the last 2 days. But how long has he been in office operating under these principles? See, the problem is the guy before him was doing it too. Never got the penalties, never got the misdemeanor, never got removed from office, never got the fines. So I don't know if I should even be excited about this or if I'm just wasting my breath. 800-288-9227. John in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Hey, James, so I've got a little bit different take on this. I just want to kind of put this in everybody's brains to kind of stew about it, because it's not quite so simple. So just to put it in perspective, man, I've been a cop for over 2 decades, both local and federal, and I work currently for one of the 3-letter agencies that's going to be involved in some of this. So I'm just kind of want to defend the police chief a little bit here, just because of the fact that people are going to have to look at this from his perspective, right? So his mission as the Dallas police chief is to solve crimes and keep crimes down. So if the migrant community goes underground because of this, say one of them witnesses your child being murdered, they're not going to step up and say, "Hey, I saw exactly who did it, and I'm willing to tell you everything," if they are afraid they're going to be deported right after they do it. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just kind of wanted to put that out there for everybody, that it's a little bit more complicated than what we're making it seem like. No, they shouldn't be in the country illegally, but from the local cops' perspective, those dudes are just trying to solve local crimes.
Yeah, I get where the thought process comes from. It's just really juvenile and shallow, because and I know you're not making that point. You're just kind of playing devil's advocate and trying to tell it from the other side. But like, if I had robbed a bank and that made me less likely to go tell the cops that I witnessed some other, like if I saw a murder, if I saw someone knocking over a liquor store, I would be less likely to go tell cops about that because of my existing status as a criminal from robbing banks. So does that mean we don't enforce the laws against robbing banks anymore? Of course not. It is just a lame excuse for them to do what they wanted to do anyway, because they're not concerned about enforcing the law first and foremost. If they're ignoring some of them, they're only worried about enforcing the laws that are politically convenient for them. And that is not justice at all. That's social justice, but that's not justice. If you have to put a qualifier in front of it, it's not real justice. That's all.
Yeah, I'm tracking with you. And a final anecdotal piece here. So this past week, I actually had an illegal immigrant begging me to arrest him because he wanted to self-deport. And it was on the same day that the news hit about that first group of Venezuelan.
Yeah, but was that up in smoke when they wanted to get deported because the nephew was having a wedding in Tijuana and they just wanted a free ride, and then also they get a free lunch with it too? I think that's the old Cheech and Chong intentional deportation. Steven in Dallas, you're on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
Well, I've been a Dallas police officer for almost 2 decades myself.
Okay, so we'll just say this is a fake name. Definitely not Steven.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nailed it. You should be a detective yourself. So we were briefed, I don't know, a week or 10 days ago in our morning meeting that we would not be helping federal agencies without prior approval all the way from the chief of police office because they're worried about the optics. Since 99% of these agencies are in unmarked cars and they ask for, some uniformed officers to cover them, all you see on the news is Dallas police cars at the scene and a bunch of black Tahoes, So that bothers me that was put out 10 days before the excuse of, we don't want them not to call 911. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course it's political. Oh, and it's so good to hear that from a cop. If you really are a cop. I mean, we just don't want to make any assumptions here. Thank you very much, Steven. See, they are having meetings and they are telling the truth, and you just heard it via the James Show. That's why we do all this. And thanks again for David for sending me the link to that Texas banning of sanctuary cities that happened in 2017. So we're not crazy. You did remember that, because we were saying, don't you remember that? Yes, we have it now. They're just doing this for political reasons. It is illegal at the federal level. It is illegal at the state level. And according to state law, Igo should lose his job and start clocking $25,000 fines every single day. That sounds like justice. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Hey, Willie Nelson's coming to town. It's the Outlaw Music Festival. He's going to be here with some guy named Bob Dylan, whoever that is. Text the word outlaw to 800-288-9227. Don't text me. I really do know who Bob Dylan is. Text the word outlaw to 800-288-9227. You'll get entered in our contest to win tickets to see the Outlaw Music Festival, July 5th, Dos Equis Pavilion. Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan. For the rest of us, livenation.com. Coming up next, State Representative Brian Harrison is going to tell you what an absolute dumpster fire the Texas legislative session has been thus far. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. My next guest, he didn't call us. We called him because I've just been using his Twitter feed or his X feed or whatever it's called now for show prep, trying to keep up with the Texas legislative session. And Representative Brian Harrison here going down to Austin every day. I am just shocked. First off, welcome to the James Show. I am just shocked at how little has gotten done. Tell the people listening, because they're not following your Twitter feed, how bad this session has been.
Hey, James. Great to be with you, my friend, and glad you reached out. Happy to talk and educate the voters and taxpayers of the great state of Texas about what I think is one of the biggest betrayals of voters in Texas, not just in our state history, but maybe anywhere in the country. I mean, President Donald Trump, who I had the privilege of working for, I was a senior member of his administration in the first term. He wins Texas in a landslide, goes back to D.C. and a mandate, and he's working 20-hour days, delivering massive conservative victories just in 3 weeks that he's been in office. He's done more to end DEI in Texas, quite frankly, than the Texas House of Representatives has in the last 3 years. But what folks need to know, and it's going to shock them. I mean, what I'm about to say is going to shock you.
Oh, I know it.
You're listening to the show. If you voted for a Republican to go down to the Texas legislature and represent you, the odds are very good that Republican teamed up with a bunch of Democrats and some other rhinos. And even though Trump won the state of Texas, they have put Kamala Harris's team in charge of the Texas House. So even though we've got an 88 to 62 massive majority in the Texas House, Democrats are in charge. And what they've done, just today, a Democrat was made Speaker pro tem of the Texas House. We have done almost no work in the.
Well, hang on now. Days. How many bills have y'all gotten passed?
Oh, let's talk. Let me hit you with some numbers then, since you asked the question. So the Texas House has been in session for 31 days, but as of this morning, we had no committees formed. We got those today. We've had 0 bills referred to committees. We've had 0 hearings. We've had 0 bills passed. But we have done a couple things. The number of House resolutions to praise Beyonce, we passed one of those. We've spent 2 days on the floor discussing Beyonce, and we have taken 4 long weekends in the 4 weeks since we have been here. This is Operation Run Out the Clock, so Republican priorities die and Democrats are empowered.
Weren't they trying to take a week off?
I think the longest we did was 5 or 6 days. Yeah, they want to burn the clock so that Republican voters who sent us down here to put our state on a path to eliminate property taxes, to stop having their taxes weaponized against them and their values by funding DEI and transgender ideology in our public universities, to put parents in charge of their kids' education and pass school choice. The so-called Republicans that are in the Texas House, let me tell you how this happened. 30 of our Republicans, 30-something, teamed up with 50 Democrats to elect our speaker. So even though our speaker has an R, a Republican by his name, he is controlled by 50 of Kamala Harris's biggest supporters in the state of Texas.
Brian, explain to me how this happened.
Power.
Sorry to interrupt. So explain to me how this happens every 2 years. We think we're sending a bunch of Team Red Republicans down to Austin to fix things, and it just seems half of them are Democrats in disguise. I mean, why do we get this so wrong every time?
It is one of the most underreported scandals in America. Elected Republicans, every election, you see them in primaries in November. They say, vote for me, and I will stand up to the radical left that wants to indoctrinate the next generation. They say, vote for me, and I will fight the liberal Democrats that are going to bankrupt our country. But the second they get down here to the swamp of Austin, and let me tell you, the Austin swamp is worse than the D.C. swamp.
It must be. It really must be. This is what we're learning here.
There's something in the water. The very first thing they do when the constituents aren't watching is they vote to put those very same leftist Democrats in charge, and then they collude with them to kill Republican priorities, and then they work with them again to advance big government socialism.
So where's your district?
My district is proud to represent District 10, which is just south of Dallas County. It's Ellis County, so I've got Waxahachie and Midlothian and Ennis and a whole bunch of other small communities that I'm honored to represent.
Oh, okay. So no excuse. you should be listening to the James Show on a regular basis here, Brian.
I love listening to the James Show. I love WBAP. I was thrilled when you reached out.
Oh, fantastic. Well, listen, we are having the event with Brian Kilmeade coming up February 26th. You should come out, and if you are going to come out, let me know so I can tell people, hey, one of your elected representatives is going to be here, because we have a lot of people who listen in your district for sure. But it'd be a good chance to meet you and meet some of the other people listening. Just let me know if you're going to show up, and I'll be sure to promote it.
I'm a fan of Brian Kilmeade. I was actually on his show not too long ago, and I've been listening to WBAP since I was a young lad running around, and I would love to join you on the 26th. I'll make a note of that right here and follow up with you.
All right. I want you to be my point guy on just what a dumpster fire this legislative session is. Can you stay in touch with me on that too?
Oh, 100%. And if folks want real-time updates, if they follow me on X, just at Brian E. Harris. And I try to what they don't want you to do down here is be transparent, because transparency is like kryptonite in the swamp. So every single day I try to update millions of Texans about the truth of the betrayal of how Republican voters are being stabbed in the back by their elected representatives. Because we should be we're Texas. I love this state. We should be leading the nation in freedom and individual liberty and low taxes and low regulations. And we got to end property taxes. And that's what the voters of Texas want. It's what they deserve. But too many elected Republicans are colluding with Democrats to make that what should be a vision, what should be our mandate, to turn power over to the Democrats so that they can indoctrinate the next generation and bankrupt them. And we've got to have Republicans stand up and fight against them. That's what I'm trying to do every day down here in Austin.
All right, this is Texas State Rep Brian Harrison coming out of District 10. And look, I recommend following him on Twitter/X if you want to keep up with the legislative session. That's just some cliff notes that I discovered. And even though he's an Aggie, you should still go follow him anyway. Thank you very much, Brian.
Great to be with you, James.
Appreciate it. And Aggies, don't at me. That was just a friendly joke. All right, coming up next, got some hot sports opinions on the Dallas police chief saying he's not going to comply with immigration requests from ICE. If you want to jump in on the conversation on that or what Brian Harrison was just talking about, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. The interim Dallas police chief is our top story of the day. And God, there's so much going on in D.C., but, you know, sometimes when you have a bigger local story, but it does feel weird to ignore all the big stories going on, all the stuff that's going on with Doge, stuff that's Trump just made some new statements about tariffs. We had another terror attack that happened in Germany. It was just a car that randomly drove itself into a crowd. There's no connection to any other cars that are driving themselves into a crowd, I'm sure. Also, we talked quite a bit about the new stock exchange coming to Texas. There's actually 2 of them. So, dude, we're becoming the center of the financial world. There's just so much going on. So if you didn't get to hear all this, maybe you're just joining the show, or maybe you got to duck out before the show's over. This is what the James Show podcast is for. So you don't have to miss anything. Wherever you're already listening to podcasts, have you already looked it up? Look up the James Show. Once you find it, subscribe or follow or whatever it says in whatever app you're in, whether it's Spotify or the Pie Chart app or I prefer the WBAP app. I just realized that other people do other things. So we got all that going on. If you want to hear more on any of these other topics that we covered today, the James Show podcast. My numbers are doing better, but I need them up. Find it, like it, love it, share it, subscribe, alerts, all that good thing. Let's go back to the phones here. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Looks like we got a couple calls about the Dallas police chief not working with ICE. I wonder if they support it or not. Bob, Wolf City, your thoughts?
All right. The biggest myth about this whole thing with Dallas PD, any other local state PD, they cannot enforce federal laws. They would have to be deputized by either the U.S. Marshals or ATF to be able to go out and round up illegal immigrants. The biggest injustice, I should say, that's happening with Dallas or any of these other liberal cities, basically what they're doing is, okay, say a patrol officer goes out and arrests somebody for some unrelated crime. They bring this person back to the jail. They get fingerprinted. Immigration gets a notification based off this person's fingerprints that, oh, immigration wants this person. Immigration will send the detainer to this jail saying, do not let this person go. We want them. We are coming with a warrant. Hold them for us. And what these agencies do is they ignore that and they let these people go.
Yeah, I think that was my understanding of it, and I assume that was most people's understanding of it. But yeah, that all sounded correct.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy that you have an agency saying we want this person, and they just say nope, sorry, goodbye.
So, but we also have the situation where, according to Tom Homan in several interviews in the last 3 months, that it's illegal to do that on the federal level. And then we had the law that was passed on the state level that went into effect September of 2017. Someone emailed me the link reminding us of that earlier in the show. So it's illegal at a state level too, but I don't think that's ever been enforced.
I doubt it, because the people that have to enforce it are the same ones that are making the calls to say don't hold these people for immigration. You got to realize that who's going to enforce this is going to be,
with the Texas Rangers,
judges,
Texas Rangers, or FBI. Federal would be FBI. The state would be.
About it.
Well, under Tom Homan.
Yeah, under Tom Homan, yeah. But once we get our new FBI director confirmed, then maybe things will change. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Texas Rangers, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. The top of the Texas Rangers, how they play, I mean, political, it always swings.
Isn't that awful? We can make it illegal at so many levels, but if we don't have anyone on Team Red to actually follow the law, what good does it do? None. All right.
Exactly.
All right. Appreciate your insights, Bob, Wolf City. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Call back anytime. This is Joel in Wichita Falls. Your thoughts. You're on WBAP.
I got 2 points. Number one, your last guest, the situation he describes is why I throw every Republican fundraiser letter I get straight in the trash. Number two, the police chief. I remember when I was growing up, a federal law about integration was put out there, and George Wallace and other Democratic South state governors refused to enforce it. And Mr. Kennedy sent federal troops down there to show that you will follow federal law.
Well, that wasn't the first one. The first one was Dwight Eisenhower had to go send in the National Guard. The Republican Eisenhower had to go send in the National Guard to remove the Democrat governor of Arkansas, Orville Faubus. He was the guy who started the whole, I'm going to stand in front of the school doors and prevent integration because I'm a Democrat and I hate black people.
Yeah, no, I know. And if you don't follow the law, we don't have a rule of law. We have rule of men. And if you don't have a rule of law, we've lost our country. They need to enforce it to the fullest and make examples of every one of these guys that is breaking the law, that they have full knowledge of. They swore an oath to uphold it, and they need to pay the penalty for rubbing their nose at it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the philosophical underpinning of the argument here. Either you have rule of law or you have rule of man. We don't use the term rule of man nearly as much as we use the term rule of law, but that should bother you about selective enforcement of any of these laws. You know, so we talk about it for in the immigration sense here, but there's also like the rule of man when it comes to, you know, Hunter Biden has just countless hours of him breaking all kinds of laws and no one enforces that. No one treats it like if your son was on video smoking crack and getting prostitutes and illegally buying guns and throwing them in trash cans and whatever. So, you know, the whole selective enforcement thing breaks that philosophical code, and whether or not you agree with the law or not shouldn't have any bearing on whether or not it gets selectively enforced. Because, you know, if there is a bad law, if there is a law that's terrible statecraft, one of the easiest ways to get rid of it is to enforce it and enforce it thoroughly. That will force the change to happen. You know, so like if it's illegal to possess small amounts of drugs and then someone says, well, I'm just not going to enforce that. Now, even if you agree with it, you should disagree with the process. You should strive to say, no, we need to change the law, not selectively enforce the law, because what Joel brought up, then you lose the rule of law. Now you have the rule of man, because if it's all selective enforcement, now you're just living under the same kind of tyranny you would have under any kind of despot or king or dictator. But I'm glad you brought up that phrase. We need to bring that more, Joel, in Wichita Falls. Rule of man is kind of what we're living under now. And, well, it's what we're living under now, but that could all change if we actually enforce the law and see what happens when cops either from Austin or DC come to put bracelets on Igo. See if he changes his mind. All right, coming up next, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced nominees. We will criticize them next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, look, every year the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame comes out with its nominees and then its inductees, and people are going to complain because so-and-so got left out or so-and-so doesn't deserve to be included. But as I look over the list for this year, this one's pretty solid. There's not a whole lot to complain about from my view on this one. However, let's ask the professor of pop culture, Dr. Bob Thompson from Syracuse. Welcome to the James Show. And as far as list goes, I have to do this almost every year being in talk radio. There's not a whole lot of points of criticism I can see.
No, nobody I would cut out of there. I mean, I suppose if we really sat down and thought, there's a lot of people who aren't on there, but I don't see anyone on there that doesn't deserve it. Though it's interesting, if you're not like a pretty intense historian of popular music, there are very few people who I think you could hand this list of 14 people or groups to that would know every single one on the list.
I don't know Mana.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's interesting. That's it's a Mexican rock band, and if they were to be inducted, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I think they would be the first inductee that performs almost exclusively in Spanish, which is kind of interesting that we've gotten to 2025, if that indeed is the case. But if you, for example, if you showed my students who are in their, early 20s, late teens, this group, there's a whole bunch of them, if any. They'd know Mariah Carey, of course, because they're awake during December.
Right.
But a lot of the other ones were. Now, part of that has to do with the fact that in order to be to get nominated, you've got to have had your first commercial release at least 25 years ago. So if you're 21, that's before you were born.
All right, let me just roll through the list real quick. Bad Company, Black Crowes, Mariah Carey, Chubby Checkers, Joe Cocker, Billy Idol, Joy Division / New Order. I can see why they did that. Cyndi Lauper, Mana, Oasis, Outkast, Fish, Soundgarden, White Stripes. Now, Outkast, clearly out of the genre, but we've seen this so much in rock and roll nominations in the past.
Dolly Parton.
Sure. But I think we've even seen like Run DMC and the Beastie Boys make it in there or something to that effect. Yep. So if they're going to make it, then Outkast definitely should. I mean, they actually play instruments on some of their songs. So I think the biggest surprise is Chubby Checkers not already in there.
That is, every now and again when I see one of these lists, I think, wow, how old is this Hall of Fame? And this is the first time we're seeing this person, or they still being nominated. Yeah, I mean, Chubby Checker essentially is known for one song, which is Twist. He did have another top 10, though. I forget, was it Pony Time? Might have been a number one. Anyway, I think this may have been his first nomination. So that was surprising to me. That was 60 years ago. And alas, he won't be able to show up for the celebration if he gets inducted.
I just assumed that he had a lot more hits than that. There's Twist and it's Pony Time, isn't that there's? Let's see. Let me look at the list. Limbo Party.
Those are the number ones. He had other, he had other songs, obviously, but those are the big giant hits that he had.
All right. So maybe I spoke too quick on Chubby Checker, but yeah, it's hard to argue against this list. Kind of surprised Joe Cocker's not already in there.
Yeah, I was surprised at that as well. Now, some of these are, and it's been opening up much more as the years have gone on as to what constitutes rock and roll. Now, it's essentially a Hall of Fame of, I think we'd have to call it popular music at this point, because there's a lot of this stuff that I'm not sure we'd put in rock and roll. But I was kind of surprised Cyndi Lauper hadn't already been that. This is her second nomination. She was nominated and didn't get it back in, not last year, but the year before, 2023.
All right. Now, all these people aren't going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I guess this is going to get whittled down. We have 14 now. Could 14 make it, or does it have to go down to like the top 8 or something?
Well, there's no specific number, so they usually induct usually about a half a dozen. They've done, I think the first year was 10, and what a list that was. But you've got to get over 50% approval. So of the voters, over 50% of them have to vote that you should get in there. So that'll narrow it down quite a bit. And then it goes to the highest voters, though it's kind of mysterious how many actually get in, and it's different every year. It'll go from 8 to 12 to 10. It's kind of all over the place. And the people who vote are they're academics and journalists and producers and others involved with music. It's one of these awards things that are a little bit mysterious and not completely transparent.
Have you ever been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I have. Have you?
I have not. Is it worth going?
It is. And by the way, it's February. What a beautiful time to go up to Cleveland.
Oh yeah,
right now.
That's a good one.
But no, anyway, it's right on the lake, and it's interesting architecture, and of course, it took forever for that thing to finally open. They started talking about that. It seemed like decades before it finally got there. But yeah, it's fun, and I was joking about Cleveland in February, but Cleveland's actually a fun place to go. It's got a great art museum, great symphony orchestra, and of course, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame makes it now a real destination.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone brag on the Cleveland Symphony Orchestra, so I'll have to take your word on that one. Dr. Bob Thompson, professor of pop culture, Syracuse University. It was a good chat. Thanks for coming on the show.
It was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I like not having something to complain about on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame list. It's nice to just be a generally positive guy and say nice things. Not like, oh, why is so-and-so on the list? These people are out of their mind. That was fantastic. All right, coming up next, Valentine's tomorrow. Gentlemen, don't screw it up. I'll give you some advice on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. So we got a lot going on, starting with the next station event is going to be February 26th. People ask me, when's the next meetup? Well, I'm going to sort of piggyback on this Brian Kilmeade visit. He's coming in, he's, the guy from Fox and Friends. He's on KLIF, our sister station, in the mornings at like 9 to 11, I think. And when he came in last year, it was great. We were at a place over in Irving, and it filled up pretty quick. So we're going to be at a bigger place on February 26th, Community Beer. I haven't been inside it, but the building's huge. It looks like it used to be a Bed Bath & Beyond or something. Wasn't it like an AutoZone or something there? It was something big. And I would still recommend getting there before it starts with a little bit of a cushion if you want to make sure you get a seat. It starts at 6 o'clock. And I was trying to look this up. Last time they did an hour or two of a live broadcast. Well, I think they're doing that again. And so it's from 6 to 8, they'll be breaking into KLIF's live programming to bring you the special event with Brian Kilmeade here in your backyard. But you can come out and say hi, and I can't promise he'll do this again, but last time he stuck around, and I hung out after the event for a good hour and a half, and he was still there just talking to people. In fact, most people talked to him and had already left by the time I was done. But when I left, it was just me and this guy named Paul talking to him, and after about an hour and a half of that, we took off. So look, this is a chance to not just see him and be in the same room as him, as he is, meet him, see him do a broadcast, and then interact with him after the show. Now, I'm going to be there. Miss Parker will be there. Other James Show listeners will be there. Hi, Miss Parker. And if y'all want to meet each other and mingle, that's always a cool scene to find other like-minded people, especially. There's a lot of people who listen to WBAP who are in the situation I'm in. You just assume that all my friends are Team Red or Republicans or whatever. Once you get outside of my nuclear family, way more than half of my friends are Team Blue. And I don't mind. I love them all just the same. And you don't have to politically agree with me in order to be my friend or have my respect. But it does get kind of exhausting, right? Isn't it nice when you can hang out with other people who share your values and your sensibilities, and you can say jokes that you don't have to worry about someone getting the red butt over or getting offended about? Or yeah, that's more what this is about. Not even necessarily to meet me or meet Brian Kilmeade, but for you people to meet each other. I think that's super important, because it also kind of dispels that overwhelming feeling that you get if you are surrounded by Team Blue. If you're surrounded by Team Blue, when you turn on the TV, there's Team Blue. When you listen to music, you hear the messaging of Team Blue. When you turn on Netflix, you hear the messaging of Team Blue. Academics, cable news everywhere except for Fox News. It's a really good reminder that you're not the odd man out. They are the odd man out. You are the overwhelming majority. You're just too nice, and you're too silent, and you're too agreeable. And for some reason, people can quite easily forget about that. So yeah, that's going to be our next event. And then after that, there's a couple of events that are happening the next day. Now, it's not our station event, but it's groups that you hear on the James Show. The Dallas County Republicans are having a Meet the Candidates event on February 27th. That's going to happen up in sort of the North Dallas, Addison area, Beltline and the Tollway. There's a shopping center that has between Montfort and the Tollway, just south of Beltline. That big shopping center, there's going to be an event there with Alan West, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and then also Sarah Gonzalez from the Blaze. They're going to be hosting that one. And then the same day, there's another event. I believe it's in a different county where there's another Meet the Candidates event. Oh, and there's a social for the American Jewish Conservatives. There's all kinds of stuff coming up. So, that's another thing I'm adding to this show that you may have noticed. There's been a little bit of an evolution in the James Show. I wasn't doing a whole lot of this the first year, right? I just started here January 1st of 2024. So now that it's been a little over a year, you're going to start to notice some changes. Number one, there's no point in doing social events when you don't know me yet. February of last year, no one would have come to a James Show meet and greet because you didn't know me and you didn't care. And I don't take offense to that, rightly so. You had only maybe heard me for about a month or so. But now we know each other. Now you've heard me run my mouth for hours and hours and hours, and I've gotten so much feedback, if not from you specifically, people like you, like-minded people. So now we're going to be ramping up all the social events here in 2025. I'm going to try and do one a month. I did one in December and January. For February, I'm going to piggyback on the Brian Kilmeade event. And so I'm already looking for March. There's a venue in Plano. They're James Show listeners. They reached out. So I think the March event is going to be in Plano. So that means the next event I'm looking for will be for the month of April, and I'm looking for a venue. And I'm looking for a venue where either the owners or the general managers or whoever that's in charge and runs the place, I want them to be James Show listeners. I want them to know WBAP. They don't have to be ADLs. They don't have to listen all day. But if they know that, like if you went up to them and you're like, hey, you know the James Show? And they're like, yeah, I love that show. I want to go to a place like that. That's where I'm going to do it. Until people start paying me to go to these other places, I am only going to reward the existing James Show crowd, because I would like for there to be a little bit of reward. If I have to bribe you to listen to the show, I will. So I can bribe you with promotion, I guess. Also, on tomorrow's show, we're going to have to go into a deep dive on what's going on with our teachers, because there's a school in Arlington, and I didn't report on it yet because it wasn't that big of a deal. There was some teacher who had an inappropriate relationship with a student, and then there was something that was added to it yesterday, and then today I find out there's like a half dozen people who are rolled up into this. There's a teacher, there's like a coach, there's some other administrator. I don't know if they have a janitor or something rolled in there. But then there's also a principal got in trouble, and I think he's just in trouble for not reporting it. I don't think he's actually involved in the inappropriate relationships with the kids. But that's a lot of people just from one school. And then you add all this in with all the other nasty teacher stories that we've been sharing, we've got ourselves a huge problem. And it's not getting any better. And we've been talking about it really solid for about a year now. This keeps coming up just as hot and heavy and fast as it can go. And I don't think it's getting any better. So come back to the James Show tomorrow for a little bit of that too, because, you know, these latest accusations, it's just piling up. All right, stick around. Coming up next, Mark Levin. If you need more James Show action, I'm about to go put up the podcast wherever you're already listening to podcasts. So just look for the James Show. Find me on social media. That's a big one too. Find me on X, James Parker Show. Find me on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. Whatever you're already on, find me on that. Follow me. Every little click helps. Every share helps. I super duper appreciate it. It's the one thing you can do aside from listening to my show that would really help me out. Social media is huge. So thank you for that in advance. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.